I'm sure I've said this at least half a dozen times now. The iPad mini is one of my favorite Apple products simply because it stays true to the original intent of the iPad. It's so versatile and cute and tiny and also very powerful thanks to Apple's implementation of the A17 Pro chip. As for my own personal usage case, I love the iPad mini for web surfing and just general media consumption on YouTube and other social media apps and streaming services. I also use this thing for Procreate or sketching so I can, cook up or ideate thumbnail compositions, photo compositions, and other schematics or plans that involve my work or life. I also really use this thing with one of my favorite apps, Notion, to plan my life and work. And I'm actually trying to pull this thing out more because the screen is bigger and it's also a less distracting device to me than my phone. I also use Notion with this device specifically to keep track of my extensive shot lists while I'm shooting shots and while I'm also editing those footage clips into my videos, so I'm keeping track of things in order, so that's how I really use this device on the day-to-day. And with that said, even though I think the iPad mini here is a lovely device, I still have one major problem with it, and with all iPads in general, and that is their screen on time or the lack thereof. They all have the same 10-hour battery life, which feels like half or less to me. And probably because I keep the brightness on like max and my auto lock is on like 5 minutes instead of like 30 seconds. So I definitely use these devices to their max, but specifically the iPad mini always felt like it was dying on me, so that I wouldn't use it because it wouldn't be charged and it just became annoying. But I didn't like that because I love this form factor and I wanted to use it more. So the rhetorical question remains, what did I do about this problem here? Well, of course, I didn't throw a solid state battery into here and reverse engineer stuff, or I didn't fly out to Foxconn or Cupertino and get a next-gen prototype. I didn't even ask Apple to put the A18 chip in here, which would have been a much more sound choice due to its higher energy efficiency with 3nm Gen 2. That's a whole nother video or story. No, I decided to create my own accessory, my own case. I didn't do much, I just threw some Velcro on here and a few more things which we'll get into. But yeah, in this video I want to talk about this contraption I've made to make the iPad mini work better for me, at least with regard to screen on time. But before we continue with the video here, I have a brief message from the people that made today's video possible, Plowd AI, and more specifically, their AI voice note taker note pen. I actually covered their Plowd Note note-taking product too a few videos back, but this is their smaller wearable version or product, which I'm an even bigger fan of. Essentially, when toggled, the Note and the Note Pen in this case will record what you say or what is being said around you, sync that recording with the Plowd app, and with the help of GPT-4o and or Claude 3.5 Sonnet, analyze them for your own personal and or productivity uses. Before I get into the usage case though, I just want to say this thing looks great. Whether you decide to wear it on your wrist like I am, which I find to be the best, most accessible setup, but you can also wear it on an included necklace, or better yet as a pin with the clip or clamp attachment. All this to say, the white and silver metal and premium plastic construction here of the Note Pen and its accessories go so well with my monochrome outfit situation and my Apple products as well, which I appreciate. But getting to the Plowd app though, with the recordings you capture in sync, you can see an AI-generated overview of what was said, get a direct transcript if you want to pore over every detail, a summary if you want to glance over things more quickly, and finally, a mind map to view the recording in a more segmented, path-oriented view. From there, you can also share or export the audio recordings or text in the formats I just mentioned, and better yet, with their Pro and Unlimited subscriptions, ask their AI to help you analyze or understand the recordings even more. All the while, the pen gets 20 hours of recording time, 40 days of standby, and charges with this fantastic little included magnetic charger and an Apple-esque USB-C cable. You can also connect it to Apple's Find My app, which is so helpful for keeping track of this little thing. Everything considered, I absolutely love the Note Pen because it helps me keep track of ideas that enter my head in the spur of the moment, whether they're work-related or just things I have to remember but can't quite write down. Having this on my wrist, around my neck, or clamped to my shirt or jacket allows me to toggle, record, and forget until I open the Plowd app later to recall what was recorded. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in checking this product out. Anyway, back to the video here. How did we end up with this monstrosity? What is going on here? How did I get here? Well, I started out with the Apple Smart Folio case, or whatever they call that. That was on my iPad mini to start before I even came up with this idea to clearly attach something, which we'll get to in a minute or two here. But that case was not working out. I had to use adhesive to attach the accessory that we'll talk about, and it was just really wobbly and unstable, and it just would fall over if I tapped the screen, so that was not working out at all. So yeah, clearly I needed something heavier duty or more sturdy, so I immediately hopped on Amazon and looked around at what cases are being sold for the 6th gen and 7th gen iPad mini here, and I came across this one from Torres, coincidentally enough, not sponsored even though they supported the channel like a video or two back, but no, this is a fantastic case, great reviews, it looks great with this white design here, there's also a black one, but yeah, it just goes with the iPad mini's aesthetic here, also my personal aesthetic. I also like how it's heavier duty too, like more rugged, so I don't have to, worry about dropping this iPad that much, but the main feature here are these little like stand arms thing. There's 2 of them, a smaller one, so you can prop up your iPad here no problem, and it's a lot more sturdy than the magnetic sort of origami situation with the Smart Folio from Apple. So yeah, I wanted something, again, more sturdy, more rugged, more utilitarian, because this iPad is equally, or if not more so, a tool to me than it is a cute consumption device that sits on my desk half the time. I'm using this, while I'm shooting videos, on site, at my office, editing stuff. I bring it outdoors, indoors, I have dropped this more times than I'd like to admit, so now that it's more protected and sturdy and upright, I appreciate that. The case is also not that hard to take off here. I'm gonna try not to trigger Siri, I just did. But yeah, it's not like an OtterBox where you have to pray to God that it comes off in the same business day, but yeah, you can pop this on, pop this off, and I take it out if I want to use the iPad again for more casual stuff in bed or in my recliner or whatever, just to watch YouTube videos or surf the web or whatever, and when I'm ready to get back to work and be more serious, I can pop this back in here, no problem. But of course, a better case doesn't inherently boost your iPad's battery life, but a external battery pack that you slap onto it absolutely does, and it seems a little ridiculous and janky, but I'm telling you, this setup works so well. And just like with the case, I had to peruse Amazon for a hot minute to find this battery bank here. It's not perfect, there may be a better one on the market, but I'm really happy with it so far, and it fits the build, like it fits this contraption here quite well, I think. This is the CharMast Slim, I guess, slim enough, 28,600 milliamp hour portable battery with 15 watts of fast charging. And again, it's not perfect, it has its quirks, it has its features, but the capacity here, even with, maybe not 100% efficiency, charges the iPad mini multiple times over here, and that was my ultimate goal with slapping one of these on here in the first place. But yeah, so far so good with this thing. I put Velcro all in the back so it attaches or interfaces with my case, nice and easy. Also, there's a little activation button on here to initiate charging, and also some LED indicators to show you how much charge you have remaining, and a healthy selection of ports as well. But yeah, not perfect, there may be a better option, but I'm very happy with the way this works in this DIY setup so far. And here's the battery attached to the iPad, a pretty sturdy, non-permanent solution, which I like much better than the adhesive strip Smart Folio tippable situation that I was telling you about earlier. I also have this flat, short USB-C cable with an angled connector that goes right into the iPad's USB-C port here, even with this case on. So yeah, it's charging all the time, and if it's not, you just push that activation button and it'll begin charging in the background without you even thinking about it. And if you want to charge this thing with all of this plugged in without touching anything, there is a micro USB port on the side here, either on this side, yeah, right here, and you can just plug that in and the battery will charge, and then it will charge your iPad. But if you want to charge the battery by itself, you can unplug this short cable here and plug it directly into USB Type-C, no problem. It also comes off rather easy too, so the cable's off there, and then, I mean, it's not like super easy to pull off, but, the Velcro doesn't come off of either of these things. It was kind of doing that initially. You got to really kind of like push this on and rub it in. But yeah, it's a sturdy, again, non-permanent solution. And I just put these Velcro strips, which you can get off Amazon real cheap as well, strategically in these places here so that the stand works as well. So I can put this onto the stand here too, and then pull it out with the Velcro, and it will, again, just sort of stand up with the battery on. And if I want the battery here on the entire iPad itself. I can stick it on a little bit higher and have it sort of in the corner here. So it stays on pretty well. Again, it's not permanent, a little hard to take off. Like you can't just like rip it off easy, but yeah, it works. It's a little jank, but it works. So again, definitely a bit goofy, but it works really well, and I don't mind having the Velcro on this iPad case, at least sort of the softer, like furrier fabric feeling side. The plastic side is on the battery here, which I recommend you do if you wanna, do or make this contraption here. I also find that when I put the battery on and I wanna just hold the iPad, I can literally use the battery as a bit of a grip, which feels pretty natural here, instead of trying to fully like palm the iPad mini, which feels a bit uncomfortable. So that's another unintended little feature or quirk here. But obviously, and more importantly though, this contraption, even though it's a little goofy, a little janky, it definitely makes my iPad mini experience so much better for the work that I do with it on the day-to-day. Like I said earlier, I use the iPad mini as my shot list or reference when I'm shooting a lot of product footage. I mean like dozens and dozens of shots, and also while I'm editing them into a particular video. So I don't have to have the auto lock on like 30 seconds just to preserve the battery life because I'm plugged in. So I can keep this iPad on all the time, almost max brightness too, or max brightness, and not have battery anxiety about, keeping the display on without having to unlock it every time I want to check off a box. When I'm, again, out there shooting product footage in my apartment or outdoors, or again, using it as a second display in my office as a little list to scroll through with my finger or the mouse with that like continuity control feature, whatever that's called. I can keep it on and again, not worry about the display just being on too much and then quickly draining the rather small battery in here, because now I have like 3.5x the battery behind the device as well. And I know some of you are thinking, why not just plug it into the wall, especially while you're editing at your desk? Wouldn't that make more sense? And to you, I say, you're no fun, but also that sort of defeats the portable purpose of this iPad. I love the fact that I can constantly shift it around and hold it, and at a moment's notice, pick it up, use it, or throw it in my bag and have it still charging. And if I want to even use it for, a non-professional usage case without the case on, I can unplug it, pop the iPad out, and more often than not, it's close to 100% charged because it's always attached to this contraption, which again, is not always going to be plugged into the wall. And if this video does well and a lot of you resonate with my personal problem with the iPad mini and some other iPad models as well, that will prove to Apple that they need to increase or better the battery life situation with the iPad lineup in general, with more efficient chips, of course, but just better batteries as well, solid state ones that we might see with the rumored iPhone 17 Air. I wouldn't honestly mind these iPads getting a little thicker too, but I don't think that's happening. But yeah, Apple, please give us more screen on time with these devices. I want to use it more, and clearly I am now that I have an extra battery strapped to the back, but ideally I'd like that battery in here, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and the iPad mini is too good of a device to give up on in my case. But anyway, I will link everything in the video description down below: the battery, the case, the Velcro, an iPad mini model I can recommend, and also a link to Plowed AI in the description down below if anything I've talked about in this video is helpful to you. Let me know if you're gonna put this contraption together if you're a big iPad mini fan like me, and please, Apple, give us better iPad battery life pretty please, because I don't wanna have my screen lock or auto lock on 5 seconds just so I can get through the day with this thing. It just doesn't work for me. So this is how I make it work, and it's not the worst experience, I gotta say. It's much better than having my iPad mini die on me constantly. And that all wraps things up here. I hope this video was helpful. Again, links in the description, and expect more content coming from me. I'll be going to WWDC next week, so I'm very excited to go and share my experience with that. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.